It's all too often that I hear somebody say something like, well, the only reason I did that is because he blah 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 blah. Or, well, if only she did this, then I wouldn't be like that. Or I wouldn't have said that. Or I wouldn't have done that. It's so often that we make excuses for our behavior based on what somebody else did. And this is blaming other people and being the victim. It gets us nowhere. It's so disempowering, y'all. Like, we all do this on some extent and we don't realize it sometimes. And so we gotta work on that, because being a victim and blaming everybody else for our problems is so weak. It's not finding the fire within us and being that person and owning up to our mistakes. So, when our story is based on, what somebody else did, or, it just shows that we don't have enough strength within ourselves to make the decisions that are right for us. It's so sexy when somebody apologizes for what they did wrong or what they could have done better, because every story does have two sides, and it's alchemy. It's not like just that one person did something. It's because the other element contributed to it. So and I'm not saying that everybody's wrong in a situation. Like, two things happen, one person might be wrong, but the situation also is because of the other person. So let me think of an example here. Like, if a bully picks on a kid at school, it's the bully's fault for picking on him. But if the kid doesn't stick up for himself, or, I don't want to necessarily say fight back, because you don't necessarily have to fight with violence back, but if the other kid doesn't stand up for himself and anchor in his ground, then, the bully's going to keep picking on him. So we have to change our vibration and our actions to make sure that, that doesn't happen anymore. It's still the bully's fault. So there's an example, actually, I use in class a lot of the times, is like, there's a kid named Sam and there's a kid named Todd, and they both get beat up by the same bully. But Sam grows up to have cancer because he's just always playing the victim his whole life, whereas Todd grows up and learns to fight back and be like, no, you're just a bully, you don't have power over me, I'm not gonna let that story run my life. I'm going to change from this experience. So, which do you want to be, a Sam or a Todd? Do you want to play the victim your whole life? Do you want to just blame everybody else for your problems? Like, oh, I'm this way because everybody else is this way. Or do you want to be a Todd and be like, oh, okay, so that bully obviously has low self-esteem, and that's why he has to pick on me, because he doesn't know how to feel good about himself, and therefore he puts me down, and I'm not going to take that anymore, and I'm just going to brush him off my shoulder or put him in his place. It's more empowering, it's more sexy, it's more like, no, this is my story and you're not going to take over. So, easier said than done. Some situations it's very easy to do that, whereas others, we're more tangled in something, and it's more emotional, and it's more, we get dragged into things based on how we feel about people, especially when it comes to family. We love our family, and we're wired by our family, so sometimes it's hard to untangle some of these things, and we have to do things because we feel we have to, because it's their family, and therefore then we write our story becoming a victim to certain things, because I couldn't move across the country because my family's here and they made me feel bad, and I have to stay here, rather than no, I want to move across the country and I'll fly back when I need to. So write your story the way you want to have your story. Don't let anybody else tell you what your story is supposed to be. I know it can be very difficult, but this is your story. Stand in your power, stand in your alignment, know who you are, make your own decisions for yourself, and don't play the victim. Those people don't got power over you, and if they do, why are you being weak? Seriously, why are you being weak? We all do this. We all find weaknesses, so know and recognize where we fall prey to, where we don't show up fully in ourselves, and analyze that, process that, fix that. Only you can do that. Otherwise, you're just going to keep getting yourself devoured by those other energies that have power over you. So get your solar plexus working, stoke your fire, get your power back, know what is in alignment for you, and then everything else will work around you rather than you working around everything else, because the universe supports you in whatever decision that you make for yourself. So make your decision, and everybody else will have to deal with it. They'll have to change. Why do you have to change? So only do what feels right to you. Stop being a victim. Don't let anybody else take over your life, your story. You got the pen, you got the paper. Make it what you want, because it's what you make it.